So over on the JP version of the game, we have this scaling rate up type banner for the 25 million download campaign, and the first servant up on the chopping block is Miss Crane, and this is a servant that I've sung the praises of for quite a while because she's absolutely insane as a support type servant. It's just, she does require you to have a quote-unquote big brain because she's a little complex to use, but it's also well worth the effort of using her because of what she can do for your team. So we're going to talk about Miss Crane in today's video. This video should be going up as Miss Crane is on rate up right now on JP. I'm going to try to cover all of the servants as they come out over on the JP version of the game. So make sure you like and subscribe to stay posted for all of those videos. Now, moving into Miss Crane and starting off with her hits, she is a support caster rocking a triple arts deck. Nothing too out of the standard there. This is actually really good to help out your buster servants as well, because giving her a triple arts deck means it's more likely that you'll run into an arch chain, including one of your buster servants arts cards, allowing them to do an arch chain to get a free 20%, so do keep that in mind. It's very good for stuff like that. She is rocking 39% NP gain with 4 hits on all of those arts cards, meaning unless you're getting crits, you're really not going to be refunding a whole lot of her NP, or unless you're just doing consistent art chains, which is not too hard for her to do because triple arts deck. But Miss Crane does have something in the back pocket for refunding her NP. You know, it's not all that hard for her to do. So keep in mind she does have something to pretty much guarantee her NP if you're having a struggle getting her NP with her natural arts cards and things. She's also rocking 10.8% star gen on a 3-hit quick card, which is, you know, not the worst thing in the world, especially because one of her passive skills buffs her own critical star generation rate by 30%. Meaning, if you get a Brave Chain with her quick card in it, you can actually gen a fair bit of stars. Which again, is also pretty important for her kit because her NP requires that you have a certain amount of stars on the field before you can actually use it. But really, aside from all that, the main meat and potatoes for Miss Crane comes from her skills and her NP because, well, she's a support type servant and that's where all the good stuff is going to be. So really just think of her hits as like, oh, she has a triple arch deck. That's really nice. That means I can arch chain with my other boys, I can arch chain with my buster servants a little bit easier, just all that good stuff. But moving on over to her first skill, she's getting some pretty good buffs for the entire party. Well, I say the entire party in quotes, because she's going to be giving these buffs to everybody else except herself. Now, she's going to be giving them invincibility for a turn, so it's kind of like Merlin's skill, where Merlin says nope to the enemy party and slaps invincibility on everyone. It's kind of like that, except she doesn't defend herself, probably because Miss Crane is not really going to be sticking around for too long, but again, we'll get to that later. She's also going to buff their star generation rate by 100% for 3 turns, and yeah, that's really, really insane. Keep in mind, that's the same crit star generation buff that Caskill gives to people, and the reason it's really good is that not only can it allow buster servants to drop their stars very easily, turn your quick servants into just absolute star generating machines, but it also, because of how the math works in FGO, it guarantees that every hit on your arts card will drop at least 1 star, meaning your arts cards actually do become pseudo quick cards at that point, and it is really, really insane. And the basic gist behind the math is that arts cards have a 0 value for genning stars, you buff it up by 100%, and somehow in FGO's coding, that makes it a 100% guarantee to drop 1 star per hit on your arts card. So, for instance, Miss Crane, if she was getting this buff for herself, 1 arts card of hers, because it has 4 hits, would guarantee drop 4 stars. But yeah, it's really, really insane when buffing up other people as well, because if you're using this to buff up art servants, congratulations, you just turn them into pseudo star genning servants. And then if you have other costume owning servants on the team, she will actually go ahead and drop 20 stars for you, which is really insane. Now, the good thing is that there are like a pretty good amount of costume owning servants. They're not infrequent, right? It's just a lot of them are summonable. Like Melusine's a really good one, but she's a summonable 5-star servant, you know, but she's really good. Da Vinci Lily, she's very, very good, but she's a summonable servant. You know, Skyhawk's a pretty good target with Miss Crane, but again, a limited 5-star servant. Space Ishtar, I mean, Jalter, like Berserker, Musashi, Morgan. These are all like really, really good costume owning servants. It's just that you have to go get all of these 5-star servants on top of also getting Miss Crane. So it's not a bad gimmick for her to have because we will always get little costumes here and there. And even the servants just getting the little glasses in that last event, like, you know, Karna getting the military shades, those count as costumes. It's just, you gotta get a lot of those servants as well. I mean, I guess you could use her with Mash, because Mash will guarantee at least 10 stars, so that's pretty good. But overall, even if it's just the invincibility and the crit star generation rate, that's still a very, very strong skill with the potential to drop at least 10 to 20 stars. Imagine if they give Miss Crane a costume herself, she'll be absolutely broken. We move on to her second skill, and yeah, this is what I was talking about, where I was like, she's got something in the back pocket for genning NP. She is a 100% battery, dude. She is a support that can guarantee get her NP immediately, which is stupid dummy broken. I mean, imagine if Tamamo could just get her NP on demand. Like, you could just click a button, and Tamamo's like, oh, we're already lowering skill cooldown, already dropping fat globs of NP onto the party. It's super dummy insane, because you can have the greatest support NP of all time, but if it's going to take you a while to get to it, you know, no one's probably really going to use you. They're going to use another support that is refunding like NP all over the place, like say with a double Castoria, where they're just throwing fat globs of NP at each other. They're just charging each other up by 60% each because of their charismas, and so it's really easy to get their NPs, right? But Miss Crane is like, what if I just sidestepped all of that, gave myself 100% and guaranteed my really good NP? So already an absolutely insane skill, but she also taunts the other members of the party to make sure that she's not going to get killed before she can pop her NP, which is really insane. She does do 2,000 damage to herself, but who cares? Your Miss Crane, once she fires her NP, is going to tag out anyway, so it doesn't really matter. This basically guarantees, outside of like an AoE NP, that your Miss Crane is not going to get obliterated. And if you combo this with your first skill, it can actually buy you a turn of invincibility because you make your other allies invincible and you taunt them as well, meaning the enemy essentially is going to waste that first turn. But yeah, second skill is very insane just because 100% NP gauge is always going to be very, very good. Then we move over to her third skill. This is just like a generic, really good crit skill to give to somebody. She can target an ally, give them decent star weight, 50% crit damage, which is the waiver crit buff for anybody that is wondering. And then also makes them immune to insta-kills, which I guess is really good for challenge quests like the Skahawk challenge quest, the King Hassan challenge quest, stuff like that. It's really good for. She also does another 1,000 damage to herself, but who cares? Like I'm saying, she's going to tag out anyway, but it's just a really good skill. It's very similar to something like Brynhilder's skill, except this crit damage is a little bit higher because Brynhilder's is 40% crit damage if I remember correctly. But Brynhilder also gives them a heal, which might be more generically useful because how often are you going to make use of the insta-kill immunity? But it is really nice that they did give that to her because it gives her a bit of like staying power, if that makes sense, because it means she'll be really, really good for those annoying challenge quests where the enemy just tries to insta-kill you all over the place. Because keep in mind, insta-kill bypasses all of your defense. You know, if Skahawk throws Gay Bolg at you, even if you have invincibility up, the insta-kill proc could still just instantly kill your servant. So it gives you some of that longevity in some of those harder fights. And then obviously the crit buffs are just generically applicable to anybody, which you guys might be noticing right now. Everything Miss Crane is doing could be used in literally any team comp. She works with Quick, Buster, or Art servants, right? It's very, very strong. Obviously, I kind of view her as the Art's crit support servant. Like, I kind of view her as the new Caskill. But realistically, you can use her with anybody because she doesn't lock herself into any card types. And then this is especially so when you go to her NP, which can only be used if you have 20 stars. Now, this can either be fixed by just running 2 costume servants in your front row, because that means on Miss Crane's first skill, she'll drop 20 stars immediately. Or you could just give her something like Golden Catches a Carp, which starts her off with 50% NP gauge. But more importantly for Miss Crane, is going to start her off with 20 stars guaranteed. We're getting more and more free-to-play CEs that actually do that. I believe we got one for the Kama event. I believe the free-to-play CE from that also drops 20 stars when you enter. We're getting more and more of those, so it's not all that hard to do at this point. And basically, this is all going to be centered around whoever your first ally is. So whoever's in that first slot is going to be getting the following buffs. They're going to be getting a 20 to 40% attack buff, depending on your Miss Crane's NP level, which actually does give a little bit of incentive to actually go for higher NP copies. because that 40% attack buff is really strong for 3 turns. She's also going to be buffing their NP damage by 30% for 3 turns. Again, already double buffing them with 2 pretty decently chunky buffs. I mean, even if you just go for NP2, that's 30% attack multiplying into 30% NP damage, because different buff types in FGO actually multiply into each other. Then on her overcharge, she's also going to be giving that ally 30 to 50% NP gauge. So at bare minimum here, at the bare minimum ground floor, you're looking at a 20% attack buff, 30% NP damage buff, and 30% NP for that ally. Then she scoots on back to the last slot in your party, and this can actually allow you to combo in and let one of your other people kind of come back in, like say another support like a Merlin, a Koyanskaya, Castoria, Scotty, a Waver, someone along those lines. She's basically a plug suit on legs, if you want to think of it that way. That's really what makes her super insane, but that's also why she kind of requires big brain to use, because you gotta like position all of your people accurately. You have to really know what all of their effects are going to be doing to take full advantage of them. But if you do want to take the time to make one of those team comps, Miss Crane is very fun to use. She's very strong. Again, I was considering her for top 5 supports in the game. It's just some of the other supports kind of beat her out. But she is definitely one of those servants that is worth rolling for. I think she's very, very fun to use. Brings some value to your box, and can let you have those big brain moments when you're playing the game. So she's out right now on the JP version of the game. If you're interested in her, you can go summon for her. I think she's a very good summon. Although, keep in mind, Castoria is also out over on the JP version of the game. So it's like, if you're going to summon for someone, you should probably be summoning for Castoria. But let's say you already have Castoria, or you already got her, then Miss Crane can also be a very good target for you to be going for. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel for more daily FGO content. If you want more content, I stream every weekday over on my Twitch. I would love to see more of you guys coming on out there. I also upload exclusive content for channel members if you click that join button. And finally, if you want to support the channel for free, you can download LD Emulator, which is linked down in the description down below. With all that being said, guys, have yourself a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.